Okay, we're back live from PlayStation's E3 booth. We're broadcasting live all week, and we're here to check out Mad Max, coming to PS4 this September. Now, Mad Max, this is a game of cool tempers. It's a universe where people talk things out, right? Rather than all this violence and bloodshed we've been seeing.
Absolutely. Parties, get-togethers. Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, so this sounds like a great game, but it's probably not Mad Max, the Mad Max at least that I know. So this is tell me about this. This is a standalone entry in sort of the Mad Max franchise, if you will.
Totally. Yeah. So I mean, it's important for us to give you, the player, the ability to play Mad Max, and there are certain key things about his character. He's the iconic anti-hero, but also his story arc. You know, he's usually weathered by his entanglements with humanity, which always end up disastrously. He gets closer and closer to people because, out of necessity, he needs to get where he wants. But then usually tragedy follows him, and he's whipped back to a point of near insanity. So that's his story arc. But we want to put you in the seat of Mad Max, and then we want to let you, in this open world, post-apocalyptic environment, we want to let you be the author of your own unique Mad Max story.
Very cool. So we're checking out some gameplay here. Obviously, it's got this open world that Avalanche is so well known for crafting. And, you know, you guys have always been so good at creating an environment that it's almost a character unto itself. Tell me a little bit about the wasteland here that we're going to be seeing in the game.
Yeah, so that's definitely right. We want players to be able to spend many, many, many hours in the world, and it should keep rewarding them for exploring. So there should be surprises. In this case, we built the world by concepting how this area looked before the apocalypse. So we built a working city, an oil refinery, some oil rigs, an industrial area, a financial district, an airport, and so on, and a bay with oil rigs and a harbour wall, and then we destroyed it. We let the apocalypse roll in. We don't say exactly what that was, but it's probably a mixture of, you know, nuclear storms and war and whatever. So it's now covered over. The sea is dried out, seabed. A lot of the areas are covered over with sand. Pests, pestilence and disease has probably ridden the whole area. So, but we still want you to be able to puzzle together, like decode what has happened here. And the more you explore, the more you're prepared to invest in that discovery, the more signs you'll see of this world as it was before the apocalypse.
Now, I know that vehicular combat, a big focus of the game, we'll get to that just in a second here, but I see Max kind of running around, exploring, looks like scavenging supplies. Talk a little bit about what you can do when you're not riding in that V8.
Yeah, so there's a lot of customization that you can do in the game, both to what we call the magnum opus, his great work, that's his signature vehicle. But also to Max himself. He develops his abilities, he gets some equipment and some upgrades for melee combat. We have a brawler melee combat mechanic, which I think is very authentic Max. It's brutal. He knows that any particular scenario or combat situation can be his last, so he's fighting for his survival. He's efficient, he shows no mercy, but not out of, you know, malice or evil. He's just, you know, he wants to survive, and he's the perfect main character to keep himself alive in the wasteland.
Very cool. So right now it looks like we're draining some fuel out of a canister of some
He's actually
sort?
filling up his canteen with water.
Okay, got it.
There are a few of those water sources dotted around the wasteland. They're hard to find, but there are some allies and civilians in the world who will help you find some of these resources that are in great shortage.
I hope he's pouring that through a Brita filter. That's all I've got to say.
He's used to eating some pretty disgusting stuff.
So here we are. We're hopping into a vehicle, and this is obviously a signature element of this game. Talk to me a little bit about how you guys approach the car combat aspect.
Yeah, so that's definitely, I think, one of the most exciting parts of this game. We start off with Max losing his iconic interceptor in a battle with Scrotus's Warboys. And Max is really stripped bare of everything, and then the journey for you as the player is to fashion a vehicle that will allow Max to escape to the plains of silence and hopefully find some inner peace. He gets some companions like Chumbucket, who you see in the back here. He's a Wasteland Blackfinger, a fanatical mechanic who almost treats vehicles and engines and just that whole mechanic way of life as a religion. Total fanatic. So he gets some friends to help him, but he gradually over time builds up his very own. You as a player will build up your very own Wasteland war machine. And it will be an expression of the choices that you make in the world, what directions you want to go in, and also the playing style that you choose. So your magnum opus will be completely different to mine, and in fact we'll be able to compare them in some online situations. You might choose something that is really heavyweight, has a massive ramming grille, but you're going to need, you know, tires with high traction, a heavy motor to power that kind of vehicle. I might choose, your weakness is probably going to be that you can't survive in rocky ground. You're going to get stuck there, you're going to be a beach whale, much more vulnerable. Whereas I might choose something that allows me to, better suspension, allows me to go over rugged, rocky terrain and so on. Maybe explore more of the world that you can't get to. So your magnum opus will really be an expression of the choices you've made and your player style.
Understood. So here we're seeing some combat actually, and I know in the world of Mad Max, I mean, supplies are very, very limited.
Yep.
Bullets come at a premium. So what are some of the strategies that players are going to be able to use in-car combat to take out the enemies?
Yeah, so you see this unfortunate, I think it was a Scrotus Warboy being tugged by the harpoon. And in this demo experience here, you'll see a variety of weapons being used in this high-octane, high-paced, very physical vehicular combat. There's the harpoon, and that can pull off armor, it can pull drivers out of the windshield, it can pull wheels off. It can also be used to shoot incendiary devices, these thunder sticks that you'll see from the Mad Max universe, almost like a rocket launcher. You will see Max using his iconic shotgun.
Of course, it would be no Mad Max game without
exactly,
that, right?
Yeah. And if you're playing tactically very well, you will notice that a lot of the enemies have certain weaknesses or certain vulnerabilities to different types of weapon. He also has I think he's got a side burner installed here, which is a dual-wielding flamethrower.
Nice.
It saps your fuel, but if you're in trouble and if you feel the need to feel super powerful, you can turn that on and cause carnage. He's got a sniper rifle attached. Chumbucket uses the harpoon and the thunderpoon, which is this rocket launcher thing, but he's also got a sniper rifle, which Max will climb into the back of the vehicle and use to take down some of the perimeter defenses for some of the more heavily guarded locations in the world. So, yeah, wide array of weaponry, and that's not including the sort of attacks that he uses just with driving. For example, he can attach rims that can shred holes in certain chassis to his wheels. He's got a side ram attack. He's also got the boost, which is perfect for front-on collisions or for T-boning vehicles and so on.
Have you guys there have been some classic car combat games out there? I don't think they need any introduction. Have you guys taken any inspiration from them, or is this sort of a fresh start for you guys? Did you just sort of start from the ground up?
We did start from the ground up, and we were really trying to capture as many of the elements that we love from the previous Mad Max films, for example, and what feels right for this world. So you'll see, for example, borders, also a very like iconic and nearly trademark aspect of the Mad Max universe. Guys hopping from one vehicle to yours,
right,
and attacking with no real regard for their own lives. There's one now. We'll see if Max succeeds in getting him off there.
Yeah, now what are your options if this happens to you, if the guy jumps on your
Well,
head
you
like
can,
that?
there's one.
There's one,
Yeah.
that's straight to the point.
You can use the shotgun. You can try and scrape him off with a cliff wall or something, depending on the terrain that you're in. So yeah, there's a bunch of options. In fact, Chumbucket was hiding in the back when that guy was on, but now when he sees he's safe, he'll come back out and he'll help you. And if you stop the car and the magnum opus is damaged, he'll climb onto the roof and start putting out the fire in your engine and
nice.
tinkering. And
I need one of those guys for my Mazda 3.
exactly.
So
Everyone should have one.
So tell me a little bit more. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of modifications that you can do. It sounds like, I mean, gas is scarce. you know, you're fighting for your life every minute of this. How do you guys break up this like intense car combat?
Yep.
Obviously, so you know, you do get out of the car sometimes. I'm curious, you know, are there ever do you fight guys mano a mano, like boss battles or tough battles that it's just max on a tough enemy?
Absolutely. I mean, just the main storyline. There's a good balance between different types of scenarios, the characters that you're meeting. Hand-to-hand combat represents, it depends on the choices that you make, of course, in the open world, but it could easily represent 40% of the game time for certain players.
Wow.
And hence the sort of upgrading abilities and the character progression related to hand-to-hand combat. There's also a plethora of weapons and options that you can use in hand-to-hand combat, like thunder sticks can be used as a weapon. You can jab it into someone's chest, kick them back. If they happen to explode in a gang of other war boys, then they'll all catch fire and
sounds fun.
Yeah. So equally brutal and high-paced. But exploring the world is definitely something that we want to use as a way to get a breather. We like to, because of the perimeter defenses that are placed around certain camps, we like to encourage you to take out your binoculars and scout. Find a convoy, find one that you think, well, I'm probably going to be able to take this one down, or, well, this one looks really heavily guarded. I'm going to have to go back, upgrade my magnum opus, get some more armor, maybe more ammo before taking on this one. There's a feature that I really like, which is if you pull the driver out of a Scrotus vehicle and don't destroy the vehicle, you can jump into that car, approach a camp, and the camp won't get alerted because
interesting.
They don't know it's
vehicular stealth. I might be a first. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yep. So in fact, they'll open the doors for you and welcome you with open arms.
Oh my! And then you need to unload that double barrel right in their face.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm charmed. This is very, very cool. So you know, you guys are so good with environments, and obviously we're seeing some really gorgeous stuff here. It's, you know, gorgeous in a devastated, dilapidated kind of way here with this wasteland. But I'd be a little curious about, you know, some of the more maybe urban, you may say, environments. These have come up in sort of the series history. So what are some other types of locations that players are going to find out about?
Yep. Well, at first glance, as I mentioned earlier on, it will seem like just a barren, desolate landscape. And that's what we want to present you as the player at the start. You shouldn't know what direction you need to take. You shouldn't know what the world has in store for you, and it should seem terrifying almost. But as you start to get alliances, as you start to get information and intel from civilians in the wasteland, Chumbucket will give you hints as well. Then you'll realize that there's a lot more hidden to this world. There are a lot of underground locations, again, well preserved. Reminiscences of the pre-apocalyptic world.
Fascinating.
Intact areas that
little bubbles of civilization.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
And you'll even find like pictures and notes from people from before whatever hit us. There's also staging posts for major areas of the storyline. In Gastown is sort of the home of Scrotus, and you're not going to be able to. Max is convinced that he won't escape this wasteland without a V8 engine, so that he can outrun the biggest and baddest vehicles that Scrotus can throw at him. So he wants this V8, but unfortunately it's located right in the Lion's Den. Gastown is definitely a massive staging post and looks completely different to anything you're seeing in this demo.
You know, Max seems to find himself in that situation a lot with this V8. The V8's always out of his hands. He needs to get back to it. I mean, he should just switch to like a hybrid or something like that. You know what I mean? Get the fuel economy going for him. That might help out.
Exactly. He's got some sort of mental block.
Yeah. He's obsessed with that V8. Well, very, very cool. So thank you for joining us. Mad Max looking very, very good.
It's a pleasure.
I'm very intrigued. It's coming out this September on PS4. September 1st, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
September 1st on PS4. Next up, we're going to have a hands-on demo with Salt and Sanctuary. Anthony Carboni is going to take that on, so stay tuned.
PlayStation